Good morning, everyone. So, this morning, we are going to make the bread that we use for communion. It's unleavened bread. So, here's how it goes. We are going to start off with the dry ingredients. If you scroll down the post that you're looking at now, I'll have included the list of ingredients in the comments. Okay? So, we're going to start off with 4 cups of flour. Now, we need to add 4 teaspoons of baking powder, 4 teaspoons of baking powder. Yep. And 2 teaspoons of salt. You're going to take a fork and you're just going to mix that up nicely. Just incorporate them together. Okay? Put that off to the side. Bowl, please. Wet ingredients are going to go into a separate bowl and mix together. So, we're going to start off with half a cup of oil. Going to add half a cup of honey. You might need the spatula to get it out of there. I'm going to add 3/4 of a cup of milk. Good enough. Let me just take that off to the side. And a cup of water. And I'm going to whisk all those ingredients together. You want to get them nice and mixed. You want to get the honey and the oil incorporated. Now, oil and water don't mix well, so do the best that you can. Okay? And mix them up pretty decently. Okay? Now, I am going to blend the two. So, I am going to carefully, may I have the spatula, please? Actually, no, I'll use the spoon, thank you. Pour the liquid into the dry. I'm going to mix it together. And if it comes out, if it's a little softer than you like, you can add a little bit more flour. I often find that I have to add more flour. Mix it pretty good. And here's where the fun part starts. I put some extra flour off to the side. I'm not sticking my hand in the main container afterwards because your hands are going to get all doughy. I'm going to flour my surface. All right? Good amount of flour there. And we're going to turn this dough out onto that pile of flour. Get some flour on your hands. Dough out of here. Okay. Keep your hands well floured or you're going to get really gooey. Okay? And we are just going to work this dough. We're going to knead this dough. Now, what does unleavened bread mean? It means without yeast. Yeast makes bread rise. Why unleavened bread? Why do we use unleavened bread? Well, if you go back to Exodus, when the Israelites were leaving, Pharaoh sent them out of Egypt. They didn't have time to mix their dough, put the yeast in, and let it rise overnight. They had to get out of town, and they had to get out of town fast. So, they mixed their dough with no yeast, threw it in their bags, and were off. And that's why unleavened. Why do we use the unleavened bread for communion? Well, that is because Passover, which is coming up, is a celebration. And during Passover, they used unleavened unleavened bread. So when Jesus came into town to have his dinner, had the disciples set up the room, and he blessed the bread and broke it, which is what we reenact during communion, he was using unleavened bread. That is why we're using unleavened bread. All right, so we've got this nice and worked together. I'm going to break it in half. So I've got two dough balls. Put one off to the side for now. All right. A little bit more flour. All right. Now I want to make this into a nice rectangle. We want to get it about 1/4 of an inch thick. If you want, you can use a rolling pin. I generally like to work it with just my hands, or work it partially with the rolling pin and the rest with my hands. Okay? So use a rolling pin, you end up with more of a circle. Doesn't have to be perfect rectangle. It can be a nice little blob here. We want it about 1/2 inch thick. All right? Then we're going to take it. I like to use parchment paper. It comes up more easily. But you can spray the pan with non-stick spray and then sprinkle a little flour on there too. All right? Smooth it into the pan. Don't pull. If you pull, you're going to tear the dough. So just knead it with your knuckles, with the palms of your hands, into the pan. All right? I'm going to quickly do the other loaf. For time purposes, I'm going to do a little rolling instead of working with my hands. Oopsie. Almost lost that one. Onto the pan. Pan's a little bigger, that's why it looks smaller. And they're going to go into a 350-degree oven for 12 minutes, give or take. Sometimes I like to leave mine in a little bit longer, make it a little more brown. So into the oven, 350-degree oven. For about 12 minutes. And that's how you make the unleavened bread. And now, through the magic of video, you have unleavened bread. Can you smell that? It smells wonderful. And there it is. It's a little on the sweeter side, but it's great. If you cut back the honey a little bit, you can use it for like a pizza crust. It's great for like a dessert. It's great with soups. Remember, it's not communion bread until it's blessed during communion. So I make this all the time at home. Here's how you have it. Cheers. Good bread. Everyone have a wonderful week. Enjoy.